this video, I'll be showing you how to add, clear, view, and remove from your favorites using the JSON local storage. So as you can see here, I have a property search website. To see how I have done this, please watch my previous video, and this was used using jQuery UI and JSON data. So what we did in the previous video is the user can select a minimum bedrooms, they can select maximum bedrooms, a property type, and the time added, and the price range. So for example, I'm just going to choose a price range. I'm just going to click on search, and the matching properties displayed. So again, if you want to see how this is done, please watch my previous video. So for example, say I like this property, so I'm just going to put this property in a new tab, and also I'm going to put this property in a new tab. It's going to go up. I'm just going to decrease the maximum bedroom just to show you how we've done this. If I click on search, okay, I'm going to put this property as well in a new tab. Okay, so now each property has their own page, as you can see here. Okay, so now I'm going to click on add to favorites. As you can see, when I click on add to favorites, the button is now disabled. So now if I go to inspect element, if I go to resources and local storage, you can see here that property 1 is inside the local storage, and this property is property 1. So again, if I just close this, I'm just going to go to my next property. If I do add to favorites, so this is property 4. Again, I'm going to do inspect element, resources, and local storage. You can see now property 1 and property 4 is inside the local storage. And again, this is using JSON data. And lastly, I'm just going to show you again with this property, property 7. So if I do add to favorites and I do inspect element, you can see here that now we have property 1, 4, and 7. So now what if I want to remove this property from my favorites easily? So I'm going to do, if I click on remove from favorites, so this is property 7, it will say this property has been removed. I'm going to click OK, and so now if I do inspect element, resources, you can see now property 7 has been removed, and we have property 1 only and property 4. So now we'll just close this. As you can see here, we have a view favorites button and we have a clear all button. So what if the user wants to see what's in their favorites? So let me just do a search. We can remove this. So I'm just going to choose a very, okay, just like that. So if the user wants to view their favorites, when they click on view favorites button, they can see their favorites. So these two were inside the JSON local storage. So now the user can see their favorites, and also there's also a link. So if I just put this in a new tab, they'll be directed to the page. Also, the user can not only view their favorites, but they can also clear all their favorites. So now if I look inside the JSON storage quickly, as you can see here, there's property 1 and property 4. So now if I do clear all, there's nothing in the favorites. And if I do inspect element and I go to resources and local storage, you can see that everything has been removed. So if you would like to see how this is done, do watch on. And as you can see here, if I just go back here, this here we use to do this and to display the results in the favorites, we're using JSON data, just as shown. So if you want to start from the beginning, do watch my previous video, or just watch it to maybe get a glimpse of how I built this, because it's very different in the way I built this code. So again, if you want to see how we have done this, then please watch on. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, is I'm going to go inside my properties folders, which has the individual pages for each of the properties. So I'm just going to open one of them. I want to open the first one. Just going to open that in Dreamweaver. Okay, so now we have our image displayed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an add to favorites button. So we're just going to do quickly, I'm just going to create a button class. I'm going to name it add favorites. Okay, I'm just going to write add to favorites here as the button value. I'm just going to close the button class. What I'm also going to do is just create another button, and this one will be called remove favorite, so just to remove it. So we'll implement that as well. Okay, I'm just going to call it remove from favorites. We'll close that. Okay, so now what we need to do is if I just go back and open our JSON file, so just go here. Because if we go onto our JSON data, we can see that each of the properties has their own ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ID of property 1. So as you can see, the ID is called prop1. So what I'm going to do is create a p tag, and for the ID, I'm going to name it prop1. And this is the same as what's inside our JSON data. So as you can see here, we have our JSON data, and each of them has their own ID. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I decided to put all the JSON data inside an HTML document inside a script tag rather than having it in a separate file. However, it's up to you if you want to have it in a separate file. Okay, so we have the properties and we have all our properties inside. So like I said, I've grabbed the ID of the first name, I've just placed it here. And now I'm going to close the p tag outside the two buttons. Just like that. Because so now inside our jQuery code, we're going to write some code, and it will, when the user clicks on the add to favorites button, it will get the ID of the property which we have here. Okay, so to do this, what I'm going to do is what I need to do first of all is I need to link our jQuery to here. So our jQuery file. So I'm just going to do quickly, I'm just going to go here, I'm going to go up, I'm just going to copy these two links, and they were from our previous video. So I do want to copy this, I'm going to paste it here. Okay, just going to save this. Okay, so I've just got the jQuery library link from the previous file, and I also copied the link to my jQuery file which I created in the other video. Okay, I'm not planning to use any jQuery UI elements, I don't think. Let me just copy it as well. We'll copy it and paste it here as well, just like so. Again, if you want to see how we started it from the beginning on the property search, do visit my other video. Okay, so now we've linked the jQuery library, we've linked the jQuery library, the file that I created, and also the jQuery UI. Okay, so I'm just going to save it. So now what I'm going to do now is going to open this jQuery file which I created. I'm going to go back to here, and I'm just going to open it up. Okay, I just want to go down just here. So what I'm going to do, let's go back here quickly. We can see that the class name is add favorites. Here I'm deciding to do a class, I should change it up, and usually I would do ID. I'm just going to show you how it would work with a class, and it works the exact same way. So what I'm going to do, just going to go back here. Oops. Okay. I'm going to copy this. I don't want to copy these two just so I don't have to write it again. Okay, so we create a function, and inside here, because it's a class, we put a dot. If it was an ID, we would have a hash. So we'll put the name of the class, which is add favorites. So now we do on-click function. So when the user clicks on that button, we're going to have try, open curly bracket. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do attribute. And then what we're going to do, so when the user clicks on add to favorites, we're going to make the button disabled. That way, when the user clicks click on add, we don't have multiple of the same IDs in the favorites. We'll just have it once. So when the user clicks on the add to favorites button, we'll make it disabled. So we'll have it disabled, and it'll be true, just like so. Okay, so now after this, we're going to create a variable. I'm going to name it prop ID to add. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the ID from what's inside the p tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this dot closest. So I'm going to get the closest p tag dot attribute, and I'm going to get it by the ID. Okay, so like we said here, we're getting the closest p tag, which is this. This is the only p tag on the page, and we're getting the ID of it, which is prop1. Okay, just like that. Okay, so once we've got the ID of the property, what we're going to do is we're going to see what's inside the favorites already. Now to do this, I'm just going to create another variable. I'm going to name it favorite. Okay, my favorite prop. We're going to do JSON dot pass, and then we're going to go inside the local storage. This is where the ID will initially go inside. So we're going to get the items inside there. I'm just going to give it a name for the key, so we're just going to name it, I want it save prop, just like that. So I close this. So now I'm just going to do an if statement. I'm going to check whether inside the favorites if it's empty or not. Just going to do if my favorite prop is empty, basically nothing. We'll do nothing. So my favorite prop is like that. And I want to create another if statement now. And now we're going to say that if it is not empty. I'm just going to copy this. So if it does not equals null, if it does not equal empty, I'm going to create a for loop. So I'm going to do for var j equals 0, so you can name it anything you want. I've just named it j. And I'm going to do if j is less than my favorite prop.length. Don't forget, my favorite prop has all the IDs from what's inside the favorites or the JSON local storage. So we add to the favorites that will go inside the JSON local storage, which will show you exactly where that is. So my favorite prop.length. Then we're going to do j++. Okay, I'm going to do open bracket as well here. So now inside here, I'm going to create an if statement. And I'm going to do if the property ID to add, so if the property that the user wants to add, so for here, it's prop1. Basically we're saying if prop1 is inside the local storage, basically, so we've looped around the local storage, and if a matching ID for property 1 is inside there, so if property ID is my favorite prop, again we did that because it's a for loop, so we're looping around it, so it's basically an array. So I'm just going to close this. So now we're saying if the ID is inside the favorites already, so they look inside the JSON local storage and it's inside there, we're just going to have an alert message. I'm just going to alert saying this property, we'll say this property is already in your favorites. So it is already in your favorites, just like that. So what alert does, it will be like a pop-up box and it will say this property is already in your favorites. So what I've done, so basically it won't add the property. I'll do this. So basically nothing. I'm just going to close these tags, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to do, this is else. So we're going to, here now the following code is if the ID is not inside the JSON local storage, we're going to add it. So what we're going to do, we're going to do my favorite prop, which again is the JSON local storage, and we're going to push the ID, which again from here, we're going to push the ID inside, just like that. And now we're going to set the item, so we're going to do local storage dot set item, and again the item key was called the fave prop, and then we're going to do JSON dot stringify my favorite prop, just like that. So we pushed it in there, and now we set it inside the JSON local storage. So now it will be inside the favorites. So now what we're going to do is we're going to catch some errors in case there's any errors. This is good again for debugging purposes. I'm just going to do catch E, just like that. I'm just going to do, okay, so if we receive the error quota exceeded error, I'm going to do an open, and inside the console, so the console, you can see the console through inspect element on Chrome. So we'll do console.log, and I'll just do error. So as this error is, if this error is for if the local storage is too, if there's too many data inside there, so it's overloaded, we're just going to say local storage limit exceeds. Start that. So I'll close this if statement. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do an else statement. So basically here now we're saying if the local storage is too packed or too full, because there's a limit when it comes to local storage, we display this error. Else, if there's another error which is not linked to the local storage, I'm just going to do console.log. I'm just going to do error, oops, a couple letters. I'm going to do, so there's error saving to local storage, just like that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close these tags. So just got that. We need all of these. I think we also need another one. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna run this. I'll just save it. I'm just gonna go back here and just double check that we've linked our jQuery file to our HTML. So, okay. See, it's not been linked, so I'm just going to, okay, let me just link it properly. Let's do it this way. Okay, I'm gonna open this. Okay, so now is it linked? Okay, that is being linked. Okay, I need to link these properly. The good thing about Dreamweaver is it tells you whether the file's not linked or linked. That's why I kind of like using Dreamweaver as my platform. Just gonna link this one. I think what it needs is just like that. Okay, so let me just double check that if it's linked. Okay, whoops, I need 3 dots. Let me just do 2 dots and I'll save that. Okay, so now I've just saved this and I will see if it works. And don't forget, the code, all this code will be inside my GitHub, and I'll put the link inside the description. So we'll just go back here. So I'll have, I need to find the exact property one, because that's the only page you put the code in to add the favorites. So we need to find that exact property. So if I do search, okay, there it is. So if I do visit page, there you go, we can see our buttons, add to favorites and remove from favorites. So if we click on add to favorites, we can see that I've clicked on it, and now as you can see, the button has been disabled. So now we can't click it again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check our local storage. I'm going to do inspect element. I'm going to go inside, okay, resources. I'm going to go inside local storage, and as you can see, the key fave prop and our value here, the ID #1. So when the user clicks on add to favorites, inside resources, the local storage, we can see the ID of the property one is inside there. Just going back to the code. So we've taken the ID, I've inserted it inside the JSON local storage. So now what we're going to do now is we're also going to figure out how to remove it, and we're also going to figure out how to clear the favorites, etc., as well as viewing. So what I'm going to do now is what we did here in property 1, where we had the button and the ID. I'm just going to copy and paste this. I want to put it on every single page. I'm just going to change the ID, and so it will work on every single page. Again, just copy this. So for example here as well, just going to copy it here on property 2. I want to save it and do it the same for every single page. Okay, so from part 1, I've just repeated everything on the other pages. So I've just copied and pasted this code. As well as this, I've also inserted the jQuery library and my jQuery file, as well as the UI files, just in every single page. As you can see, I've also inserted this code and I've changed the ID depending on the page property, just like that. So property 7 will have the ID of prop 7, just like inside JSON data. So we have prop 5, 6, 7 from the ID. Okay, so now let's just test it out. So if I just go here, so I'll just choose, let's choose a random page. So I click search. For example, this one, do visit page. So if we do add to favorites, you can see that it's disabled. If I just do inspect element, you can see here now we have property ID 1 from the previous, and we also have ID 6. So now what if we want to remove them from the favorites? This is where this button comes in. So I'm going to do, just close this, I'm going to go back here, I'm going to go back to my jQuery file. So as you can see here, we have an add favorites function. So if we go here quickly, we can see that I also created a remove favorites button. Now when the user clicks on that button, what will happen is it will remove the property from the favorites. Okay, so I'm going to do now, So the function is called remove favorites. We're going to remove it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy what we have so far. I'm just going to, it will look very, very similar. So what I'm just going to do quickly is I'm just going to copy it. I think I'll do it up to here, just like that. So I'm going to copy this. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, I'm going to change this to remove favorites again to match here. Okay, so very similarly, when the user clicks on the remove favorites button, we want the ID to be disabled. So we want the button to be disabled. So when the user clicks on remove favorites, the button will be disabled and they can't click it twice, 3 times, etc. So now we're going to get the ID similar to how we did it with add favorites. We're going to get the closest p tag. I'm going to get the ID from it. So again, very similar. I'm just going to change this variable. It's going to be prop ID to remove. Okay, so now this variable will have the ID of the property. So now we're going to have is we don't need it as a variable no more. The reason for this is because we already have it just like that. The reason I'm not going to declare a variable no more is because we've already declared the variable up top here. So similar as before, we're going to get all the data from inside the local storage, and this is going to be inside a key called faveProp. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, if whatever is inside the my favorite prop, if it does not, so I'm just going to remove this. Actually, I'm just going to copy this. First of all, let's focus on if the favorites is not empty. So here, if whatever's inside the JSON storage, if it is not empty and there is data inside, what we need to do, we need to find whatever matches what the user clicked on remove. So if the user, for example, clicked on remove on property 2, what needs to happen is we need to look inside the JSON storage and check if 2 is inside there. So what we're going to do, if it's not equals null, we're going to do a for loop to look through the favorites array, so the my favorite prop array. And then we're going to do if property ID to remove, if it is inside the array, so if it's inside the local storage, we're going to create an alert and we're going to say this property has been removed. Just like that. And then we're going to remove it. To do this, we're going to do delete my favorite prop, and whatever the match was, we're going to do whatever the match was from the array, as you see, we did the for loop, and we're going to delete it. And I'm just going to set it just similar as we did here where we set. I'm just going to copy this just like that. We're going to delete it, and we're going to delete it from the storage, and we're just going to set storage. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to do my favorite prop j. So the one that you selected will now be empty, so nothing. Just like that. And now we're going to close it. Just like that. So now what we're going to do is now we do an if statement if it's empty. So here we have an if statement if it's not empty, but now we need an if statement if it's empty. So I'm just going to copy this one, this if statement. So if inside the storage is empty, I'm just going to create an alert. I was basically saying there's nothing in there. So you have no favorite items. Just like that. Just going to close the brackets now. Okay, just like that. Okay, I'm also going to I'm going to remove this try. You don't need this. Okay, just like that. So as you can see here we did try because we're trying to catch any errors. However, here we don't need it. So there we have it. As you can see, it's very similar to add favorites. So when the user clicks the button or disable the button, we're going to get the ID from the closest p tag. What we're going to do is want to get whatever's inside the storage item. We're going to do a for loop to check whether the ID that the user, so the form the user on, whether the ID matches whatever is inside the storage. If it does match, the user will be alerted by a message saying that the property has been removed and will remove the data from the storage. Else, if the storage is empty, then what we're going to do is just say you have no favorite items. So it's going to save this. It's going to save everything, and let's check if it works. Okay, so I'm just going to add. Oops, I'm just going to add another property to the favorites just quickly. Okay, so I'm going to do search. I want to add this one. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to click the add favorites button. Okay, and let's do inspect element. Okay, so you can see here, this is ID number 3, and you see here that it's been added to the favorites. So let's try removing it from the favorites. This property has been removed. We get this alert, click OK. So now, if I just close this, so if we just go back, let's just go back here. Okay, so if I just find another property, just do visit page for example. Let's do inspect element. You can see here now it's null. So the property has successfully been removed. Let's just add another one so we can have a total of 3 properties. So we do add to favorites. Then we just close it and do inspect element again. Now if we go here, you can see that it's been added. So if we do remove, this property has been removed. And now if we do inspect element, go back to resources and our local storage, it's been removed. So now we can remove favorites and now we can add to favorites. So now what we want to do is we want to display the favorites. So to do this, we're going to have the property to be displayed inside the home page. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to go back here. And just underneath here, this div placeholder, so this div placeholder will hold the search results. So I'm just going to do, I'm going to create another div placeholder and this will hold the favorites. Just like that. What I'm also going to do is we need to create a view favorites button. Now what this button will do is when the user clicks on the view favorites button, it will display the favorites. So just above here, we'll do it above the placeholder, I'm going to create a button. I'm going to give it a class view favorites. I'm going to call it view favorites. And I'm going to close it. And I'm just going to create another button. And this one will create another function layout to clear the favorites, so to clear everything from the storage. I'm just going to name it clear all, just like that. And then, like I said, inside here, the favorites will be displayed inside the placeholder. Just going to save this, and now we're going to go back to our jQuery file, and we're going to create a view favorites function. So what I'm going to do now is, like I said, I'm going to create a view favorites function which will display the data. Okay, so again, just going to copy this part, actually up to here. Just going to place it down here. Okay, so I'm just going to rename this from remove favorites to view favorites. Just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create in the console.log, just for debugging purposes, I'm just going to write restoring array data from local storage. Just for debugging purposes if something was to go wrong, just so I can see. Okay, now very similar again, what we're going to do is we're going to get all the data from inside the local storage. So very similar, I'm just going to copy this part of the code. We're going to get all the data from the local storage, and it goes inside the myFavoriteProp variable. Okay, so now this part we're doing now to display the favorites is very similar from the previous video where we were displaying the search results. So as you can see here, if we just go up quickly, to display the search results we did an output, we did a for loop and an if statement, and we output the data like so. This will be very similar now with the favorites. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an output. Just going to have it as a URL tag, just to make it more neat when it comes to displaying the data. Okay, and I'm going to create an if statement. So now I'm going to say if whatever is inside the myFavorite property, so if whatever's inside here, myFavoriteProp, so basically we're saying we're taking all the data from the local storage and we're saying that if it's not null, so if it is not empty, we're going to create a for loop. So first of all, we're going to loop around the JSON data. So again, very similar to when we display the search results with the for loop in the JSON data, we're going to loop around the JSON data here. So we're going to do for I equals 0, for I is less than data.properties. Again, so just to recap from the previous video, data is the variable of the JSON data, and properties here is we can say it is the name of the entity. Data.properties.length. And then we're going to do I++, just like a normal for loop. And I'm going to create a second for loop, and this time I'm going to loop around whatever's inside the local storage. So we're going to do for j equals 0. We don't want to do bar because we already initialized the variable. So for j equals 0, for j is less than myFavoriteProp dot length and j++, just like that. So we're going to go through a for loop of the JSON file, and we're also going to go through the for loop of the storage. Now we're going to create an if statement, and now we're going to say if the data, so if the JSON file data, whoops, got that wrong. Okay, so whatever we get from the JSON data, if the ID of it, if it matches the ID, so favorite prop. So if it matches whatever is inside the local storage, and don't forget JSON local storage only stores the ID. So if the ID from the JSON data matches the ID inside the JSON local storage, what we're going to do is we're going to put an open bracket, and now we're going to output the result just like how we did here. So very similar. So what I'm going to do output plus and equals. So we'll create a h5 tag and an li tag. And then I'm going to do data.properties, again this is from the JSON file, I meaning the matched results, dot bedrooms. So first of all, I'm going to print out here the bedroom number. Since we didn't print it out previously, we want to print out the bedrooms. Then I'm just going to name it bedroom, so it will be 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms. Okay, and then I'm going to create some space. And I'm going to print data.properties, and again don't forget the I comes from the for loop, so we're getting the match data. So data.properties I. This time we're going to get the type of the property, whether it's a house or flat, etc. I'm just going to close this list. Oops, got to put a speech mark here. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to display the image. And I'm going to do data.properties I.picture. So I'm going to display the picture. Again, don't forget, so bedrooms and type and picture all come from here. So we have ID, type, bedroom, and here we have picture. So we displaying the picture. I'm just going to close the tag, just like that. And now I'm going to have the button. So for this, I'm just going to create an li and do a button. We're going to do ahref equals. So we're going to link it to data.properties. If we go back here, we're going to link it to the URL. Oops, got to put the open anchor tag here. I'm just going to close that. Just going to close that. I'm also going to close. I want to write down visit page. So here we have a button. We're going to have an anchor link. The anchor link will direct to the URL, just like how we have it with the search results. I'm just going to say visit page. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to close the anchor tag. We're going to close the button tag. We're going to close the li tag. Just close everything up, followed by a semicolon, just to make it look more neater and to see properly, just like that. Okay, so I'm just going to go a bit. Okay, just like that. Now I'm just going to close the brackets here. So I'm going to close them. So 2, 3, and 4. What we're also going to do is we're going to close the URL tag over here. So we're going to do output plus and equals. Just going to close the URL. Just like that. And now, similar as we did here where we displayed the search results inside the placeholder, now we're going to display it. Let's go back here inside the placeholder too. So we're going to do document.getElementById, and we're going to write down placeholder 2. We don't have to put the hash ID because we're getting it by the ID anyway. Just like that. I'm just going to do .inner.html, and inside there we're going to have the output, which is here. Just like that. So now just going to close everything, just like that. So if I just save this, okay. So if we go back now and let's see if it works. Okay, so let me just minimize this. Okay, I'm going to do inspect element and we'll see what's already in the favorites. Let's go here. You can see that we have property 1 and property 6 inside the favorites already. So I'm not going to add any more, just to see if it works for now. So as you can see, we have a view favorites button and clear all button. If I click the view favorites button, you can see here our favorites are displayed. So we've displayed the house, the bedroom, we've displayed the property type, a picture, and we've also displayed a button with the link. I think there's a problem with the way the link is, as you can see here at the bottom. So yeah, there was a problem I think with the syntax. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix that quickly. Okay, so I forgot to put the I in, which is really important. Okay, just like that. So now I'm going to save this. Just going to refresh the page. So now if I do view favorites, you can see here now the links are working fine. So if I click on, for example, this property in the favorites, it will direct me to the page. Okay, so now we can view our favorites. So now the next step is we're going to do clear all. So we want to clear everything from the local storage. That's what we're going to do now. Okay, so now I'm going to create a function for this class. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to, again, just going to copy this. Just going to paste it over here. So now when the user clicks on the clear favorites button, what we want to do is we want to clear everything from the JSON local storage, and so when the user clicks on view favorites, nothing will be there. Okay, so what I'm first going to do is when the user clicks on the clear favorites button, we're going to remove this. So we're going to remove everything from inside the placeholder too. Okay, so now to do this, we're going to target the placeholder too. Oops. Okay, just like that. We're going to do dot remove. So it's going to remove the properties from whatever is inside the placeholder too. Okay. So now the next step is, again, we're going to get the data from the local storage. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Just going to paste it here. And now, very simply, I'm going to do local storage dot clear. And that's it. That's going to clear whatever's inside the local storage, and that's going to remove everything from inside the placeholder. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and close the brackets. Just like that. This is the most, I think, it's very simple code. So I'm just going to go ahead now. I'm just going to add another property to the favorites. Okay, I'm going to add this one. I'm going to do visit page, add to favorites. So I'm just going to do inspect element. Just going to go to resources, and there you go, we have property 1, property 6 and property 7. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add, maybe I'll add 2 more properties and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've added 2 properties extra. So now if I just do inspect element, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties in total inside my favorites. Okay, I'm just going to see what this error may be. Okay, that's a normal error, it's because I deleted the icon, but don't worry about that. Okay, so here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to do view favorites, and all our properties are here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now if I clear the properties, I click on clear all, you can see here the placeholders of the favorites have been removed. And if I do inspect element now, and if I go to resources and local storage, you can see here that it's been emptied. So now if I do view favorites, nothing is displaying. And again, if I go back, for example, whoops. So if I just select a price again, and I do search, and I do this property, for example. So again, I can add to favorites. So if I just go here, it's over here, and I also can remove from favorites. This property has been removed. So now if I go to inspect element and resources, it's been removed. So in this video, I've shown you how to add to favorites, again using the JSON local storage, remove from favorites, view the favorites, as well as clearing everything from the favorites. And again, this is all linked to the local storage in JSON, and here we've used JSON data. So I really hope you liked this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to further videos. And if you want to see how I did the property search, which we used jQuery UI, then please watch my previous video, and I'll put the video also in the link below. And don't forget, the source code is also in down below in the description box, so you can download it. So again, I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching.